3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Can-Am Wrestling Show.
I mean, I've watched your show, your guys' show, you know, so it's nothing new to me.
This is Petey Williams' definition of definition, the Maple Leaf Muscle, and I need you to subscribe to Andre Colville on YouTube.
Hi, I'm Diana Hart. You're watching the Can-Am Wrestling Show with Big Ray and Andre Corbeil.
That's right.
What brings you to my house like Petey Kirby while I'm wearing my PJs?
This is Monsters BC, and you're watching the Can-Am Wrestling Show, a.k.a. formerly Brodus Clay the Funkasaurus, and you do know that.
It's me, Eric Hernandez, a.k.a. the Super Mex, and you're watching the Can-Am Wrestling Show.
This is the effing machine, the Wolverine, Mr. GMSI himself, Brian Cage, here with Andre and Big Ray, and you're watching the Can-Am Wrestling Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Can-Am Wrestling Show, episode number 58. If you don't know who I am the Mark of the Masses, the man with the plan, Big Ray, here to stay to talk some wrestling today, and I am joined, as always, by my Can-Am brother from the north, my Canadian compadre. I call him the Canadian Destroyer, the one and only, on Twitter, at Andre_Corbeil. What is up, my Canadian compadre?
How you doing, wrestling fans? What's up, Ray? Can't see my shirt because of the mic in the way, but whatever, brother. It is what it is.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I love me some Hulk Hogan, brother. Listen, Andre, interesting week in professional wrestling. A lot of things going on. I mean, we could have had 1,000 topics, but what we did was we picked out the 4 or 5 topics that we thought were interesting. And speaking about really interesting, it is WrestleMania season, and Fastlane just passed by, and that was, we are on the fast lane to WrestleMania, so we thought it would be pretty awesome, Andre. Why don't you tell the fans what our top 5 is this week?
Top 5 WrestleMania main events. Yes, the gala begins right now on the Can-Am Wrestling Show with a very, very interesting and awesome topic that Big Ray and I thought. Hopefully you guys enjoy this top 5 on the Can-Am Wrestling Show. So without any further ado, let's roll into the Can-Am Wrestling Show top 5.
Top 5. All right, Andre, so do you want to start off, or would you like me to start off?
You start off this week, brother.
Sure. All right, very cool. So now, before I jump into how I compiled my list, because this week me and Andre did not talk about our top 5 at all. So I have no idea what his top 5 is. He has no idea what my top 5 is. The way I compiled my list, not only did I pick actual great matches themselves, but the importance of the match, I took that into account, and and how important the match is, in the history of professional wrestling. So, in that sense, my number 5 is WrestleMania 6, Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior defeating Hulk Hogan, title versus title, Intercontinental Champion Ultimate Warrior versus WWF World Heavyweight Champion for the first time, title versus title at a WrestleMania main event. For me, dude, that was one of the more definitive main events of my childhood. I think it was during the golden age of professional wrestling. It was the first time that you had 2 mega faces going at each other at the exact same, and when I say mega faces, I mean the 2 legitimate biggest names in professional wrestling. That would be like Goldberg going versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, both in their heyday. I mean, it was bigger than that. Hulk Hogan losing the match, missing the leg drop, and Warrior hitting with the splash for the finish, man. I mean, what's your opinion on? And again, it wasn't a great match itself, but the importance of the match. It was, I believe, it was in your neck of the woods, right, Andre?
Toronto, Ontario's Sky Dome in front of 70,000 plus screaming Canadian rabid fans as the torch was attempted to be passed to Jim Hellwig, as Hulk Hogan had other contractual obligated things to deal with at the time. And we all know the story at the end of the day. It wasn't a very successful passing of the torch, as Hulk Hogan eventually had to return to pick up where he had left off. But I myself thought that Jim Hellwig, the Ultimate Warrior, wasn't a bad WWF champion. The likes of Rick Rude, Macho Man, and a few others had schooled him enough along the way where he actually became a not too bad wrestler at the end of the day, regardless of what some particular DVDs say. So that's not a bad pick at all, my brother.
Thank you, sir.
Now I'm going to roll into my Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 5 pick. Coming in at number 5 is WrestleMania 19, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. In Brock's very first WrestleMania match for the WWF Championship against then-champion Kurt Angle, and who can forget Brock's botched shooting star press off the top rope, nearly breaking his neck and suffering a concussion before hitting that F5 to Angle and becoming, after the 1-2-3 count, WWE Champion for the second time. This was absolutely epic, and I couldn't leave it out of my list. And number 5 this week on the Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 5.
Well, the reason why I'm smiling, Andre Corbeil.
Oh, don't tell me we're going to have a similar...
I could not help putting my number 4, Brock Lesnar defeats Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship, WrestleMania 19. Again, in my notes, I have the botched what was it? A shooting star press.
Shooting star press. Who can forget that?
I mean, let's be honest, Andre. That's my number 4. My number 4 is Brock versus Kurt Angle. Now, listen. Let's be real, man. This is the first time you had legitimate Olympic champion versus a legitimate AAU champion. Two of the greatest in-ring wrestlers of all time. I mean, both guys were ridiculously over. Both guys are huge names. I mean, this for me, dude, was one of my very favorite matches. And again, it didn't have the two greatest stars of all time, arguably, but the fact is that it had two of who I consider to be the best in-ring wrestlers, maybe, perhaps. And I know Kurt Angle, for me, is the greatest wrestler, in-ring wrestler of all time. I don't care what anybody says. Kurt Angle is the greatest wrestler in professional wrestling. And Brock Lesnar, man, is just a beast. He was a beast back then. He's more of a beast now. So that's my number 4, Andre. What's your number?
He's more of a beast now, Ray.
Oh, yeah.
We'll beg to differ on that.
Oh, I think so. With all the MMA training, I mean, consider it, Andre. He's more dangerous now than he was back then.
He's not as healthy as he once was, though, Ray.
I mean,
that's where. But yeah, regardless, great choice, my brother.
He still make me submit.
Yeah. Run!
Yeah, I wouldn't fight.
Great minds think alike, especially here at OneWrestling.com, as Big Ray and I literally mirror our early stages of the Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 5. Now, Andre Corbeil is going to bring to you, wrestling fans, his number 4 slot in this week's Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 5. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock at WrestleMania 15 for the WWE Championship. In this no disqualification match, as Steve Austin confronted The Rock as WWE's chairman of the board, Midset Kennedy McMahon and Mankind both attempted to restore order at ringside, but at the end of the day, with the help of Mick Foley, the Rattlesnake regained the WWF World Heavyweight Championship in a cluster something, but a great cluster something. Coming in this week at number 4 in Andre Corbeil's Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 5.
Well, that's a good one. It was close. It didn't make my list. It didn't make my list, but it was damn well close to being on my list. But my number 3, Andre, let me tell you something. When you talk about wrestling feuds, this has to be the definitive wrestling feud, probably almost of all time. It is a feud that went on for decades. It is a feud that helped spark the Attitude Era. Well, who am I talking about? I'm talking about Shawn Michaels defeating Bret the Hitman Hart in an Iron Man match in WrestleMania 12. For me, one of the greatest feuds of all time. Andre, this was a damn amazing match. 1 hour on the clock. These guys took each other to the limit and passed.
You're wrong. Yeah, it was above an hour.
And passed, as I was saying, as the time was basically extended. I mean, I'm sure you're going to go into a little bit about the vignettes and how they made Shawn Michaels look like a great superstar champion, and Bret Hart kind of felt that they kind of made him look like the underdog, even though he was the champion at that time. But Andre, seriously, that match for me, dude, easily makes my top 5.
And Ray, it's funny that you say that. It's not even the vignettes at the end of the day that stand out the most in my mind. What stands out the most in my mind is if Bret would have continued to walk down that aisle and leave after the match was thrown out after the hour. He still would have been WWF World Heavyweight Champion, but his ego got in the way, and he turned around and came back to the ring, wrestling fans, if you remember, and hence the match was restarted, and history was written in the books. So that's a great choice, my friend.
And let's not forget, probably one of the grandest entrances in WrestleMania history, as Shawn Michaels zipped from the ceiling of the arena all the way down to the ring on one of those zip lines, man. Really, really cool.
It was better than 100 John Cena's, that's for sure.
Remember that? All right, Andre, jump into your number 3, buddy.
Andre Corbeil's number 3 position in this week's Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 5 is WrestleMania 18.
Hulk Hogan, brother, versus The Rock in Toronto Sky Dome. And it was the fans that greatly contributed to this being such an amazing match, and as good as it was, brother, because over 70+ thousand fans in Toronto Sky Dome blew the roof off for a heel Hollywood Hulk Hogan, as The Rock reacted throughout this match in utter amazement, dude, to himself.
So that was such a spectacle, Ray. Such a spectacle. And the Canadian fans really, really contributed to that match. And if you follow that up a couple days later in Ottawa and Montreal, as that tour ran through Eastern Canada, the fans basically were the ones that contributed to the turning of Hulk Hogan to a face sooner than initially planned. So this was monumental, wrestling fans, and easily Andre Corbeil's number 3 selection in this week's Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 5.
That is an amazing choice, brother. I mean, talking about Hulk Hogan leaving, and I had no idea Hulk Hogan leaving this faction known as the NWO, brought back to life by Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Andre Corbeil, you know, man, I'm actually shocked that I left that match off my top 5, because for me, it was probably one of the greatest of, well, probably the greatest of the golden era, Hulk Hogan versus one of the greatest of the Attitude Era, and The Rock, dude. That match makes the little hair follicle stand up in my arm to this day. So
absolutely,
excellent.
It was a spectacle.
Great choice.
Something great.
Great choice. Well, now I'm jumping into my number 2, and man, oh man, alive, this was one hell of a match. Probably one of the biggest main events in WrestleMania history, if you really think about it, because the odds were stacked against one competitor. I mean, everybody was against this one competitor. I'm talking about Vincent Kennedy McMahon was against this one competitor. One of the biggest factions in the WWE, or WWF at the time, was against this competitor. And a lot of people thought the referee was against this competitor. What am I talking about? I'm talking about WrestleMania 14, Stone Cold Steve Austin defeating Shawn Michaels to win the WWF Championship and to truly usher in the Attitude Era. And, of course, the referee, Iron Mike Tyson, former boxing undisputed youngest world heavyweight champion at the time. I mean, in that match, it was awesome. Everybody thought that obviously, Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to get screwed over by Mike Tyson. You know, they had the whole shoving match at the press conference in the ring before that. I think it was a couple of Raws before that, where Vince McMahon's like, "Yeah, you messed up everything. You screwed everything up." Yeah. It was awesome, dude. And honestly, Andre, this match was awesome. You had Mike Tyson giving the quick 3 count and then ripping off the DX shirt, and he's basically repping Stone Cold Steve Austin. And yeah, that horrible. That stiff crotch chop he would do, but listen, man, you cannot. The importance of this match to wrestling history is, I think, unprecedented. I mean, literally, it's 2 of the biggest stars in wrestling history, or the Attitude Era. WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels, WWE Hall of Famer Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Celebrity Hall of Famer Mike Tyson. Vince McMahon, DX, Stone Cold Steve. I mean, dude, you could not beat that with a bat. I mean, you can get with this, or you can get with that.
You can get with that. I knew you were going that route.
Of course.
Now I'm going to roll in with my number 2. Actually, before I roll in with the number 2, Ray, the vignettes leading into that match were spectacular, and they really pulled a swerve on all of the fans that tuned in worldwide. Now I'm going to roll in with my number 2 selection this week in this Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 5. WrestleMania 5, and this one's a little bit of a cheat, wrestling fans, because this one consisted of 4 matches, as the Macho Man Randy Savage won all 4 consecutive contests on his way to becoming a first-time WWF champion versus the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, with the help of the Hulkster, as Macho Man needed to deal with a constant interference from Andre the Giant. So we all remember the chair shot. We all remember Macho leaping off with that perfect elbow drop that he always delivered and hoisting his lovely and beautiful wife, the lovely Elizabeth, on his shoulders as he pranced around the ring celebrating with his newfound friend Hulkamania. So this I wanted to make this my number one spot, but monumentally I couldn't. But that was probably this Macho Man Randy Savage fans' favorite WrestleMania of all time. Not only did I get to watch my hero wrestle 4 times, he capped off the night becoming WWF champion in a great WrestleMania moment for Andre Corbeil. Hence, my number 2 selection in this week's Can-Am Wrestling Show, top WrestleMania main event matches.
It is truly the beginning of the Mega Powers explosion, Andre Corbeil.
Absolutely.
I was about to call you Andre the Giant. Speaking of Andre the Giant.
Hey, it's a long time to be a champion.
It's a long time to be a champion. Well, speaking about Andre the Giant, Andre Corbeil, I got to jump into my number 1. And for me, it was the obvious choice. For me. Again, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm talking about not only the importance of this match, but this match, not only the torch was passed from Andre the Giant over the Hulk Hogan. Of course, I'm talking about Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan, WrestleMania 3, in front of 93,000 fans in Detroit's Silverdome. Hulk Hogan made a mistake calling what was it? At the last WrestleMania, where he called it the Silverdome, but they were in a totally different part of Detroit, if I'm correct. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But let me tell you something, man. The slam heard around the world. I remember as a kid, it was one of the first times watching the local news, and they were actually interviewing people that, they really took this serious, man. I don't remember anyone picking Hulk Hogan to win this match. Everybody thought Andre the Giant would, and this is my recollection from watching the news. They interviewed many people on the streets, and nobody picked Hulk Hogan. I think one kid picked Hulk Hogan.
Well, then I was a smart kid, brother.
Well, I
didn't see Andre pulling it off at WrestleMania 3.
I thought Hogan was going to win the match, but then again, I was a Hulkamaniac, brother. And the truth of the matter is, man, that was probably not only the in-ring, it wasn't great, but it told one hell of a story, man. You had the long-time undefeated Andre the Giant, which we all know that Andre did.
Leave me with something, brother.
Okay,
because
all right.
We're mirroring our number 1s.
All right, so I'm gonna actually pass this off to you then, Andre Corbeil.
I would have had nothing to say, bro.
Go ahead, brother.
Obviously, my number 1 selection in this week's Can-Am Wrestling Show mirrors my Can-Am Wrestling Show co-host number 1 selection as well, as Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan steal this number 1 pick, and it was the pinnacle, the peak, the top of wrestling, as that indoor world record still stands to this day, Ray. Now, it's a shame that building is in shambles, and it's probably going to face the wrecking ball very soon. I think it's too far gone to really invest the money to save the building, as stadiums and arenas get imploded and destroyed all the time. Now, it's a shame that this will be one of the buildings that will be going down soon because, as Ray said, it's basically the pinnacle of professional wrestling in front of 93,000 plus in the Pontiac Silverdome. And I thought Hulk Hogan was going to win the whole way through. Andre the Giant was clearly sick and not at the prime of his health at this point. Right. And we can remember, wrestling fans, that there were certain interviews out there where Hulk Hogan had honestly had to ask brass if, is Andre going to do this for me? He did have a little doubt.
Right.
So Andre showed class, that same class that he always showed throughout his whole career, and as Ray said, passed the torch, equaling Andre Corbeil's number 1 selection in this week's Can-Am Wrestling Show. Top 5 WrestleMania main event matches. And of course, as always, wrestling fans, Big Ray, Andre Corbeil, we want you to jot down your top 5 selections for this topic and leave future considerations for our top 5 Can-Am Wrestling Show segment.
Hey, Andre, before we leave this top 5, one match that I thought you would have on, so I didn't select it. I guess technically it could be an honorable mention on my part if you don't mind. But I would like to discuss it really briefly. But this match was a WrestleMania main event, but it was not only a WrestleMania main event, but it was the first ever WrestleMania main event, the War to Settle the Score. No, it wasn't the War to Settle. It was WrestleMania.
That was MTV War to
Right,
Settle.
I'm sorry. It was Mr. T and Hulk Hogan versus Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper.
I never enjoyed that, Ray, still to this day.
It wasn't a great match, but
it was more of a fiasco. If this was wrestling fiascos.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, I disagree with you, man. I mean, I think that that it did the job. I mean, it brought in the media. It brought in the
No, not 100%. Finish. I'm sorry to cut you off. Finish.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andre. No, I'm just saying it brought in the media. It brought in.
You're giving a little too much credit to that. Yes, everybody did want to see Hulk Hogan kick the crapola out of Hot Rod Rowdy Piper. I think a one-on-one singles main event match would have been a little bit better, but
yeah, but then they brought in Mr. T, right?
Who brought a lot of eyes. Cyndi Lauper brought a lot of eyes as well, and let's not forget Liberace, all the superstars. So I think it was a jointed effort that brought all of the eyes to WrestleMania, and I don't think we can give all of the credit to this main event.
Not all of it. I mean,
not all of it. No, a good portion.
What was the big match on that card, Andre?
Absolutely, but
no, I'm asking
WrestleMania was booked that year, the first time, its inaugural time, to be a spectacle, to overtake Starrcade, and that was the effort. That was what they wanted to do, and they succeeded.
I'm going to say something that might get heat, but I'll be honest with you. I think Starrcade was a way better card than WrestleMania that year. I mean, let's be real. What do you think?
Granddaddy of them all.
But let's be real. I mean,
what a lot of fans may think, Starrcade started it all, wrestling fans.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that what's your opinion, Andre? Do you think that at that time the NWA's
you know I was an NWA fan more so as a kid, opposed to WWF. It's just the way it was. I liked the way Crockett's territory ran, and I liked all of the jointed territories with different superstars coming through. It was more of a plethora, and it was more of a man's man type of wrestling. Now, we both will probably get heat for this portion from certain fans, but it is what it is. Jim Crockett's NWA, even though Jim Crockett didn't run and own the territory from its inception till its closure,
right.
The NWA led for near 60 years as the premier wrestling organization in pro wrestling.
But Vince McMahon, in his utter genius,
rock and wrestling, like we're talking about,
he put everything on the line, dude, to make that happen. So
and MTV doesn't get enough credit for having a hand in the WWE's explosion at that portion in time.
So that is excellent statement, Andre. But anyway, you know what, guys? That was our top 5. I just thought, it'd be cool to mention that match. Guys, please, like we always tell you, leave your top 5 down here on YouTube. I forget, we're on OneWrestling.com, so please check out, leave your comment here at OneWrestling.com, YouTube /OneWrestling Video. Hit us on Twitter at Big Ray Show, at Andre_Corbio. Why don't you tell Bill Apter, brother, that you love this show? Hit him up at Apter One Wrestling, or the rest of our crew. We'll give him a plug down the line. So, Andre, let's jump into
retweet the show on Twitter, share it on Facebook, and retweet it, re-Google plus it, or whatever.
Whatever you want to do, sure.
And share the show. Let's get it out there, guys.
Yeah, Googling sounds personal. But anyway, we're going to jump into our first topic, Andre. And this is a topic that just came down the wire maybe a day or two ago, where we have, depending on when you're watching this show, we have Samoa Joe. Now, we know that he left TNA, Andre, and officially he is now signed with Ring of Honor Wrestling. Andre, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you think?
This is a great thing. Obviously, like the phenomenal one AJ Styles, Samoa Joe has a past within Ring of Honor and has always had that love for the company, that same love that AJ stated on the interview. He's done everything possible. He's a Triple Crown winner in Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. I was a little shocked that he decided to part ways, but after marinating on it for a little while and thinking of the pros and cons, it does make sense. Now, he can go to Ring of Honor. I think personally, I might get some heat for this. We don't know what kind of contract it is, wrestling fans.
Right.
Samoa Joe is not a cheap contract by any degree. So I'm under the assumption, and I think it's pretty safe to say that Big Ray would be under the assumption, you can let me know after this statement, my brother,
okay,
that this is probably a part-time deal, as Ring of Honor doesn't really have much financial backing from Sinclair Broadcasting right now.
All right, I'm going to agree with you. And I think we discussed this on the last Can-Am Wrestling show. Samoa Joe would make a killing on the independent scene. And if he wanted to fly over to Japan every once in a while and be a part of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Wrestle One, or whatever great organization that's out there, I mean, he could do that too. I mean, Samoa Joe is synonymous with great wrestling, dude. Now, I'm a little surprised. That that he didn't take some more time off. Or, I mean, it depends on his schedule too. Maybe he's gonna wrestle for ROH for maybe 3 or 4 months. And
I clearly expect him to be on the card at Ring of Honor's 13th pay-per-view, 13th year anniversary pay-per-view. So the timing is perfect for that, and should be pretty interesting to see the matchups. And like Big Ray and I were pertaining and relating to how often Samoa Joe is booked here.
Right, but now my thing is that, does it totally close the door for him going to WWE? I mean, unless
I believe so.
You think so?
I think the most natural fit is Ring of Honor, but I think the best fit for Samoa Joe, due to his strong style, would have been Japan. But that's not what we got. Maybe we'll get to see some of the cross-promotional pay-per-views that Ring of Honor does with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and we'll get to see Samoa Joe booked against one of the great Japanese superstars. It remains to be seen, and it remains to be seen how often we're going to see the Samoan Submission Machine, but I think it's a good thing.
I think it definitely opens the door for him to work with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Obviously, he has a good relationship over there with AJ Styles and the boys, that worked for TNA that are over there now. And who knows? Maybe
keep in mind, wrestling fans, a lot of people get this misconstrued. AJ Styles isn't under Ring of Honor contract. He's contracted in for appearances, but he's officially signed with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Fans need to get that straight.
Right.
There are a lot of superstars within the roster right now of Ring of Honor that aren't even under contracts, and when you weigh that out, that's a dangerous thing.
Well, now Samoa Joe, again, like we reiterated 1,000 times, the guy's going to make a killing, so he doesn't need the WWE. WWE, I guess, doesn't need him. They have their Samoa Joe and maybe Kevin Owens, depending on how they book him. So, and you made a great point last week that they both wrestle the same style. I just wanted to see Kevin Owens against Samoa Joe in a WWE ring. I thought that would have been cool. But listen, anything is possible. I wouldn't say that. You never say never, because that's wrestling.
Okay there, Hunter.
No, but dude, let's be honest with you. Who would have thought you would have seen...
Sting said it best. The one thing that's for sure about wrestling is nothing's for sure.
Who would have thought you would have seen Rhino, like 10 years down the line, wrestling in freaking NXT?
And I think this is gonna weigh heavy, pertaining and relating to independent stars from other promotions on their willingness to come into NXT. Let's see if Rhino is just enhancement talent to put everybody else over. That's what I'm assuming his position upon his return is going to end up being, but that remains to be seen, and that's just speculation, but I think it's safe to say. So, we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. All right, Andre, let's jump into a little TNA. And there's a up-and-coming young star, a little different.
It's yourself!
A little different than most, I guess, wrestlers. He looks a little different. I guess you could say he wrestles to a different tune, Andre. We're talking about...
he acts a little different. He's just different.
I mean, he has I'm sorry, for the English-speaking fans, mom and dad, always at ringside. Yeah, we're talking about Grado. Andre, why don't you give your opinions regarding this young, interesting, different talent?
I do think he's money because of how unique he is, but the fact of the matter is we know Grado didn't win British Boot Camp 2, but with the Madonna petition and the recent returning and featuring of Grado on TNA television, I think it's safe to say that Grado is indeed under contract with the company. Now, again, this is speculation, but within these actions and how much he's being featured, I think it's safe to say. Now, the other question here involved is it a developmental contract? I don't think so, because he's been TV ready and on TV ever since coming in. So,
I mean, the kid's got a lot of charisma, Andre.
Oh,
but
Oodles.
I don't. I mean, look. I think we discussed this off air, where I feel that every wrestling company should have somewhat of a comedic wrestler. WWE has always had their comedic wrestlers. NWA had a comedic wrestler. WCW had comedic wrestlers. Remember Disco Inferno, Disco Fever. WWE with what's his jackass's name? The Cobra guy,
the Canadian?
Santino
Canadian
Marella,
Italian?
yeah, the Canadian Italian Santino Marella. But anyway, what I'm basically saying is that he's a fun guy to watch. I don't think he's that great in the ring, Andre, to be honest with you. But
no, he's not at all.
And
it's everything else around the edges of his in-ring ability that makes Grado and still money.
Here's the thing that kind of bothered me. I was watching TNA this past week where he was fighting Al Snow. And by the way, Al Snow looks freaking better shape than What the hell? Doesn't Al Snow look a freaking main eventer, or is it just me?
Al Snow looks like he's in the best shape of his life.
Al Snow looks freaking great. Now, Al Snow goes down to the wee boot. It's not believable for me, Andre. Convince me. I would like you to try to convince me that this character in the ring here in Grado could be believable, could win some type of title, or be somewhat of an important wrestler on this roster.
Here's what makes it believable. A boy in his hometown living out his dream. You can't beat that with a bat. You can get with this, you can get with that. Nice and simple. Nice and simple. He was over. Listen to that audience one more time.
Right, but that's in the UK, though, Andre. It's in the UK. What happens when he comes over here?
That's the question. So does he have a developmental contract where they're going to sand him a little bit more, or are they going to continue to have him? Now, the interesting thing here, Ray, is that this may fill the void that EC3's been filling as a comedy-based wrestler, and it might give him the opening to make a run to become TNA World Heavyweight Champion before the end of the year. We know it's coming, where EC3 is going to get a big push. He is undefeated, no matter what way, no bones, however you want to look at it. EC3 has not been pinned in Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, and expect him to be thrust in the title picture. As soon as this Rockstar Spud, JB, Mandrews feud with Tyrus is all over, they're just stalling for now before strapping the rocket fuels on the back of EC3 and pushing him to the moon.
It's funny that you mentioned Spud, because I made a little note regarding Grado and Spud, and I thought it'd be fun. Now listen, I thought it'd be fun if maybe they make like a little faction of a little British kind of European faction with Grado and Spud and what's the other guy's name? Mandrews,
Mark Andrews. I think that it would probably work.
I mean, Spud is hilarious. Let me tell you,
with their manager JB.
TNA, give us a call, ladies and gentlemen. Give us a call. We'll we can write maybe for the show.
We'll have some coffee and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it over tea.
Over tea and crumpets. But seriously, dude, I think that would be a great way of using Grado, and we call him a little faction or a wee faction.
The wee boots.
The wee boots. I know. I really think that would be a lot of fun to watch.
Union Jacks.
Whatever you want to call them, they'll be fun to watch.
That's pretty creative of you.
Oh, you know what you could do? Put those three guys and then give them one giant. One giant guy. And who would that giant guy be?
Well, they'd have to bring Rob Terry back.
Ah! Yes. You're that we've been doing this too long together. That's exactly. I would just have Rob Terry standing behind the three small guys. With that face he makes. I mean, I think it would be fun to watch, Rob Terry's shown that he's got a little charisma. Remember when he was doing all that little dances and stuff like that back in the day?
Horrible.
It was horrible, but what I'm saying is that he could be the straight man to their comedy.
Like I said, Ray, it's some pretty good booking you've come up with.
I don't know, guys. Guys, why don't you... Hey, what would you do with Grado, ladies and gentlemen? Why don't you leave your comments here below at OneWrestling.com and YouTube /OneWrestlingVideo, Andre.
And if you like Ray's idea, wrestling fans, tweet the president of the company, none other than Miss Dixie Carter, and tell him that the Can-Am Wrestling Show sent you with this selection or suggestion.
All right. So now, Andre, when I do this, who do you think about, Andre? Yay! Whoa.
You know something, Ray?
What's up,
and
dude?
Can-Am Wrestling Show fans, for that matter, Isn't it interesting that very shortly after this show and its fans took to social media highlighting the lack of attention to the tag teams inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, that we get the Bushwhackers, Luke and Butch, a.k.a. the Sheep Herders, getting their due for Tag Team Hall of Fame and inductions in this year's 2015 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. Congratulations, boys, with the amount of tag team titles that you've won in the past as the Sheep Herders. Not really dominating in WWE, though, for some reason, but still being quite the big draw and quite the loved characters within the roster. So congratulations, Luke and Butch. Williams.
Now, listen, Andre. Now, I remember as a kid. Now, I wasn't one of those kids that just watched the WWF. I knew about the NWA. I knew about the UWF. I knew about the Sheep Herders. And I said, oh, these guys are going to be like killers, because I remember them walking down the ring with their New Zealand flag, and I forgot who was it, guys. If you guys remember what his name was, the big guy used to carry the flag for them. Geez, I cannot remember his name. He had big blonde bushy hair and a big mustache. Cannot remember his name, but it doesn't matter. It was kind of like their manager at the time. But you know, people don't understand.
Wasn't it Oliver Humperdinck?
No. That's the little fat guy with the red hair.
That was Bam Bam's.
This was a big guy, and I can't remember his name, but it's not important. But
they were also Calgary Stampede tag team.
Yeah,
champions.
these guys. 20, what is it? Over almost 25, 26 titles all around the world. You know, people are gonna say, oh my God, they put these freaking idiots in. These idiots basically ran every single territory and was successful. And even though these guys were eating sardines and licking kids' faces and walking around like this and doing funny vignettes with Mean Gene Okerlund and Bobby the Brain Heenan, these guys made a hell of a lot of money for the WWF at the time, man. Andre, what do you think?
Like I said, they were a draw, and they were tag team champions everywhere, basically coming into the territories and running straight up roughshod.
The only reason I think they weren't tag team champs in the WWF is because the lack of size. Again, they weren't horrible in-ring performers, but they were what they were. As the Sheep Herders, they were one of the more feared tag teams in professional wrestling. I mean, these guys were freaking vicious.
Animals. They were animals.
They were bad, Andre. They were bad news. Before bad news, Barrett was even in diapers. I mean, these guys were running the territories, and I'm serious, man. When I remember watching them as a kid, and I said, it threw me for a loop, because I remember them as such a mean, evil tag team, hitting people with chairs and biting their faces and doing like the most horrible things, winning the NWA Mid-South, if I'm correct, the tag team championships down. I used to watch it on Channel 61 here in New York City, and I tell you, man, it was just like freaking. I think they built one hell of a career for themselves, and even if they didn't, you know, win a tag team championship WWE, like I said, they definitely made a name. If they're one of those teams, one of those characters in professional wrestling, that even if you don't watch wrestling and you start walking like this, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's that tag team. What do they call the Bushwhackers? People know who they are. They're just Andre
and wrestling fans that want to complain and maybe bash this selection, realize, recognize, and most importantly, analyze.
Absolutely.
And these guys are very well deserving.
Well, Andre, now we went back.
Maybe not demolition deserving when it pertains to the company, but that's another story for another day.
Oh, speaking about a story for another day, this is a perfect segue into back in the day with Bill Schuyler. Ladies and gentlemen, we went back in the day talking about the Bushwhackers, and Andre Corbeil is apparently having a seizure. So let's cut away and go back in the day with Bill Schuyler as he takes us back to some old school wrestling action back in the day.
Down the road.
Welcome, wrestling fans. You got Bill Schuyler here back in the day at the Can-Am Wrestling Show, and we are traveling back to January 4th, 2014. Tokyo, Japan, Wrestle Kingdom 8, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title on the line, being defended by the Bullet Club's Prince Devitt, going up against Kota Ibushi. This promised to be one of the greatest matches of the night, and surely to go down as a mat classic between Prince Devitt and Ibushi. Early on, we had hijinks from the Bullet Club, causing all kinds of situations and problems at ringside. New Japan officials had them removed from the ring area, and we were off one-on-one, mano-a-mano, Prince Devitt against Kota Ibushi. They would unleash a repertoire of unbelievable strikes and counter moves to each other, a ballet of violence, as they say. These two gentlemen took it to the limit. Several near falls, so many chances where it looked, you just couldn't tell which man was going to get it, who was going to get that final strike or move to end it. Prince Devitt hitting with an incredible inverted Sunday Bloody Sunday, which looked to be the end of Ibushi's chance at the title, and he kicked out at the last possible second. This went back and forth, and finally Ibushi out of nowhere hit with a sick Phoenix splash, gaining the 1-2-3 over Prince Devitt, and the Bullet Club lost their leader's strap, one of the bigger belts of the stable at the time. Ibushi would go forward in his career as a face in New Japan, earning that title yet again. And little would we know, fans as myself and others, that not only did Prince Devitt lose that title, not only did the Bullet Club lose that strength in their stable, but soon we would be losing Prince Devitt as he would be heading west to conquer the WWE, starting out in NXT. That's right, you know him now as Finn Balor, and the sky is the limit. Gold abounds, and I expect huge things for the former Prince Devitt, but that's a story for another day, and we'll talk about that when I see you down the road.
All right, Andre Corbeil, we are back from back in the day with Bill Schuyler. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow him on Twitter at YouGotTheShow. Don't forget to check out his show with our good buddy, WWE correspondent Billy Ray Valentine. Follow him at Billy Ray Hustle as they do One Wrestling Goes Old School. Now, Andre Corbeil, as we were taking a break and we were listening to Bill Schuyler's Back in the Day segment, I had a tweet directly tweeted to me by Lee J. Robinson. You can follow him at Flame PHX, again at FLAMEPHX, and he tweets us this at Andre Corbeil at Big Ray Show. I read articles that AJ Lee tweeted Steph McMahon addressing that the Divas need a bigger role in the WWE, and he continued to say at Andre Corbeil at Big Ray Show, have you guys heard about it? And if so, what's your take on that certain situation? Andre, if you want to give your opinion quickly, and I'll go down the tweets. And
You're probably going to play. I'm going to be the devil's advocate here,
okay.
Ray. We're this close to WrestleMania season. This is clearly a work.
You think?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is a company that's run, it's a conglomerate actually, that's a publicly traded company, and from top to bottom, everything gets pre-approved. Even the superstars' Twitters, you go back to Alberto El Patron's recent interview where he says that the talents under the WWE umbrella are basically told what to tweet, and the last I checked, AJ Lee is still under the WWE umbrella. This close into WrestleMania, I don't think Nikki and Brie are going to be the only women's match featured. Hashtag.
You think Steph AJ Lee?
Do you know the hashtag?
I don't remember the hashtag.
No?
No.
Give the Divas a chance.
Was it that?
Yeah.
Well,
so you add that, which trended for near 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
You add the Stephanie McMahon, AJ Lee feud.
Okay.
And most importantly, you add in the 10-second match on this week's Monday Night Raw. This is a work, my friend.
Well, listen, I think as reporters, we would be we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't actually report this.
Absolutely.
Basically, listen, it's Oscar during the Oscars, the 2015 Oscars. Actress Patricia Arquette, who received an award, she and I'm going to quote her: "To every woman who gave birth, to every taxpayer and citizen of this nation, we have fought for everybody else's rights." equal rights, excuse me. It's our time to have wage equality once and for all, and equal rights for women in the United States of America. Now, Stephanie McMahon goes on Twitter and tweets, "Thank you at Patty Arquette for having the courage to fight for hashtag women's rights on such a grand platform." Now, AJ Lee retorts at Stephanie McMahon, "Your female wrestlers have record-selling merchandise and have starred in the highest-rated segment of the show several times." She continues, "And yet they receive a fraction of the wages and screen time for the majority of the male rosters. Hashtag use your voice." And then Stephanie retorts, "Thank you at AJ Lee. I appreciate your opinion. Hashtag use your voice." Then Vince McMahon in the last tweet that night, "We hear you. Keep watching. Hashtag give Divas a chance."
And that's great and all, and I don't disagree with giving the Divas a chance. I was extremely angry for Emma, sad for Emma, more or less. But I'm going to play devil's advocate again. Let's go over usage here.
Okay.
The Divas are basically part-time because at max 10 to 15% of that 3-hour show is dedicated to the women. The rest is predominantly male-based, and wrestling's always been predominantly male-based. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with the idea of a Divas show, and I'm not talking total Divas. I'm talking an in-ring product, storyline product that's surrounded around wrestling action. I don't think that that's a bad idea at all, but the fact of the matter is 10 to 15% utilization of the Divas. At work, I'm not going to pay a person that's only working 15% of the time as much as the people that are working 100% of the time, which are the males. And ladies, I hope you don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm totally for equality, absolutely 100% for it. I do believe women are absolutely equal, and it comes down to work hours and utilization. It's true, everybody. You can't dismiss what I'm saying here. 10 to 15% of the workload is not 100% of the workload, or in this case, 85% of the workload, which is male predominantly based within the umbrella of World Wrestling Entertainment.
I'm going to back you up 1,000% here, Andre. And again, we're not putting down women's equal rights.
Not by any
at
sense
all, at all, here or any place else in the world.
Love you, ladies.
Believe me, I love you, Jennifer. Anyway, what I'm talking about is, listen, very simple. In a workplace, man or woman, if there are certain jobs, let's say you have 10 jobs, okay? And you don't need 10 jobs. Maybe 5 of those people are doing 10% of the 100% that's actually done by the other 5 people. In other words, 5 people are doing 90% of the work, the other 5 people are doing 10% of the work. You don't pay the same wage to the people doing 10% of the work as you do the 90% of the work. And in some cases, guess what, ladies and gentlemen, that 5 people that are only doing 10% of the work get either let go, fired, or replaced for cheaper labor to do the same amount of work, if not more.
And another thing, Ray, if you factor in that percentage of utilization, per utilization, per capita, they're probably making more than a lot of the males.
Well,
with the amount of work, and I know Brie Bella probably makes a little bit more money than Jack Swagger does. But anyway,
her
that's
merchandise
neither here nor there. I'm a construction foreman at work, and you all know that I'm under workers' compensation right now, and I'm on work leave until I'm ready to go back. Now, my number 2 hand at work is a lady named Tara, and Tara's been filling in for me while I've been gone from work, and I'll be honest with you guys, there's not one day that goes by with me not at the job site that I don't have total faith and confidence within Tara's abilities in fulfilling the duty. So I'm just talking about utilization percentage-wise and factoring it in demographically, and that's where my opinion is based from. So,
well, this is also why AJ Lee was so angry, reportedly, allegedly, that she wasn't on the Total Divas program, because
she's the one that's been utilized more than anybody, Ray. Hasn't she not?
But the thing is that in Total Divas, those women are getting extra exposure. They're getting extra money for being on that show. And the truth of the matter is that they're, maybe they're not making a ton on. Let's say you're not Nikki Bella, Let's say you're not Brie Bella. Let's say you're Alicia Fox or Cameron, who's on that show, who obviously is not making what Brie and Nikki Bella, because those girls are making crazy loot with their merchandise, along with, so these girls are getting extra pay, being on the show, extra notoriety, so on and so forth for being on the show. AJ Lee is never really given an opportunity. Now, that's why they said
she didn't want to be on the show.
That's
she
not what I heard.
The show.
That's not what I heard. I heard that she was upset.
Let's go back to last year, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to last year, how she was playing the role, I'm not a diva. I'm not a total diva. I'm a diva kind of thing. She was against it from... It's not her thing, and she was clearly vocal about it from the start, Ray. You don't remember?
Yeah, but you're saying money's not her thing? You're telling me that they're going to
No. That image and that genre is not her thing that she wanted to be. You don't remember?
Yeah, I do remember, but that could also be a work, dude. I mean, anyone... Who's going to say no?
She's not a giggly flower dress girl. We all know that.
But so what, Andre? But who doesn't like money?
Well, some people don't like to jeopardize their image that they uphold, and some people will walk away from money to keep that image.
So you think she's CM Punk in us, basically?
You think Metallica wants to do Justin Bieber's type of music?
Yeah, well,
even if they were off.
Hold on, that's a bad example, because anyone who's a big Metallica fan, like I was pissed off when they came out when they did Enter Sandman, and when they came out with that album, because a lot of the true fans felt that they kind of.
I hear you, but they still stayed under the rock genre.
But they kind of sold out, if you know what I mean.
You're missing the point.
What's the point?
Pop. From rock to pop.
Well, Enter Sandman was considered pop in the rock community. Oh, yes, it was. I mean, in the rock community, yes, it was.
It was considered mainstream.
Mainstream pop. What
you go to Master of Puppets, their album before that wasn't mainstream, which was hard and awesome.
Sorry.
But they still...
But
I wish I had more coffee right now. My throat's itchy for some reason.
Well, that's what she said. So, now, listen, Andre, I mean, again, we're not against equal equality. No. We understand. Let's say if this is not a work. Let's just play playing devil's advocate. This is not a work.
She would have been fired within 24 hours if this wasn't a work.
I don't know about fired. Maybe suspended or maybe buried.
When you question your boss publicly, even in front of the workers.
Insubordination.
This is more than in front of the workers. This is globally and internationally.
Insubordination, basically.
She'd be fired, bud. She'd be fired.
So basically what you're doing is you're using common sense to decipher the fact that this is all part of the storyline.
WrestleMania 31, people. Stephanie McMahon and...
AJ Lee?
AJ. Yeah.
And what are they going to be fighting for? An extra paycheck? A raise. A raise on a pole match.
They're going to be fighting for the storyline that everybody's buying in right now.
They're going to have a raise on a pole match.
Maybe they'll have an equality war where if AJ Lee wins, the Divas get more rights, more time, and if Stephanie wins, everything stays the same.
Well, Andre,
There's a storyline right there, my friend.
Well, this is a perfect segue into our final segment of the evening, which is basically speaking about equality, speaking about someone who doesn't really work as much but gets probably a lot more than maybe 90% of the roster.
That's because he was smart.
We're talking about the smartest businessman probably in professional wrestling at this point of juncture, Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar reportedly this past Monday night on Raw, depending on when you're watching this video, was at Raw. He had allegedly he had let's just say a disagreement with one of the road agents, and he walked out. He was supposed to appear on TV. Now, to me, this is all negotiation ploy, because what I'm hearing is that negotiations are moving forward with Brock Lesnar and the WWE, and there is a very good chance that Brock Lesnar will, in fact, be coming back through WrestleMania, possibly into next WrestleMania. So, Andre, what is your opinion on Brock Lesnar basically holding the WWE by the, let's just say, grapefruits?
Well, I'm going to call this uncertainty, Ray. I'm going to play devil's advocate again. Brock Lesnar and the uncertainty of a contract renewal lingers within the back areas of World Wrestling Entertainment. And when you add in the recent admittance from UFC President Dana White, who openly admits and confirms that he has indeed been in contact with one Brock Lesnar quite a few times. So these recent contacts make me wonder if he's going to leave WWE, because Dana White also stated and added that Brock Lesnar is indeed welcome back at any time he sees fit for an MMA return. Brock doesn't seem happy. His heart doesn't seem in it. Yes, the money's nice and he does have the company by the balls. But when your heart's not into something and you're a big enough superstar where you can make boatloads of money anywhere you go, are you going to continue to be unhappy? Look at Batista walked away. He could have stayed. He could have stayed. Look at The Rock. He could have stayed. He does come back to fulfill his passion and love for the fans and what he feels like he owes to the industry that springboarded him ultimately to where he is now. Brock Lesnar's heart's not in it. I don't think you can deny that, and I don't think any of the fans can deny that.
I don't know. I mean, you can't really speak for the guy, Andre. I mean,
the eyes are the window of the soul, buddy.
Yeah, but I mean, to say
you watch
that
the product more than I do, and I can clearly see that.
Well, I mean, when I see him wrestle in those matches, and he does wrestle, I think that he does give it his all when he actually wrestles.
Granted.
So I would
when
never.
When the green light goes and the money's rolling,
right.
right?
But isn't that the way a smart businessman should be?
Like I said, this smart businessman can make boatloads of money anywhere he goes, whatever he does. So he's what's the word I'm looking for?
He's a genius.
Well, that
that
too.
damn contract. A beast.
He's an exception. Brock Lesnar's an exception.
Because he's an exception because he's an attraction.
He's absolutely an attraction, and that's why he was able to barter himself such a great contract with such a limited amount of appearances and such a large amount of money.
Absolutely, Andre. This is something that I definitely want to hear from the fans. I want to hear their opinions regarding Brock Lesnar. And like I said, it's a perfect segue because again, you have AJ Lee complaining about the women not earning their wages, and you have a great argument where the women don't work. They only work maybe 10 to 15% of the show, but then so is Brock Lesnar. He's making more money than more than maybe 90% of the roster. So it's kind of a double standard if you think about it.
No, not really. You're being extreme in that regard. You're being absolutely extreme.
I am playing both sides of the fence, my brother, because that's what we do. We are
when
reporters
was the last
here.
time? When was the last time a diva main evented WrestleMania? Maybe main eventing Raw shows, but when was the last time a diva main evented WrestleMania? Try never, Ray.
Oh, never. No, never. And it never will, unfortunately, because women's wrestling has always been, unfortunately, an attraction. And I'm not going to put them there with the little people, midget wrestling or anything like that. No, but listen, man, it is what it is, dude. I mean, women's wrestling is an attraction. It will always be an attraction. It is a man's quote-unquote sport.
I said predominantly dominated by males.
And that's the way it will always be, unfortunately.
Unless they give the divas their own show.
Well, I don't know if we'll ever see another Glow Wrestling, if that's what you're talking about.
Don't you miss the days? Don't you miss Glow
We're gorgeous ladies of wrestling. We're all champions in the ring.
Cheesiness. It's just so good.
Yeah, but they were good, though. It was good times, man.
So, fans, comment below. We're definitely interested in hearing all of your opinions on all of the topics that we brought forth today on this episode of the Can-Am Wrestling Show. Now, Ray, before we roll out, I have a little something I'd like to say.
Is it time for the Can-Am Wrestling Hot Seat?
No. We'll get to that after.
All right.
I want to send a heartfelt happy 80th birthday to one of the main loves of my life. Yes, happy birthday to my wonderful grandmother, Wanda Williams. I love you so much, and at the end of the day, I've always been proud of the strength of your character, your humility, your humor, and just the person you are. And I'm glad that some of those traits are instilled within me. I love you so much, and again, like I said, I've always been proud of you. I love you, Grandma.
That's awesome, Andre. You are so blessed to have your grandma. I lost my grandparents a long time ago, my friend. So God bless her. God bless you. It is awesome that you have that beautiful woman in your life, brother.
Absolutely.
So I don't know you, Nana, but you know what? I'm going to send you a happy birthday, my love.
So I'm going to call her after we shoot the show here.
Nice.
And I've been looking forward to it all day, brother.
You know, it'd be funny if we actually record it and she's like, "You haven't called me in 8 years. Who is this?"
You know she watches the show.
Does she really?
My grandmother and my aunt in Vancouver watch our show.
Oh, she
now,
Nana must think I am one handsome devil.
I don't think I've ever called her Nana.
Well, that's all right, Grandma.
Yeah, Grandma. Yeah.
Well, Grandma must think I'm one handsome devil. Love you, Grandma. Anyway,
wrestling fans, Big Ray and I. It's funny that you mentioned the hot seat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna jump into the Can-Am Wrestling hot seat now, right?
No, we're not. We're going to do some changes, and we're going to give the fans a little bit of a chance to be a part of these changes. We will keep the Can-Am Wrestling Show hot seat when we have guests, because you got to have promos when you have superstars on the show, and there's many superstars coming in 2015 on this very show. Stay tuned, stay locked and loaded to find out who as this year progresses. Now, Big Ray and I have formulated something for you wrestling fans called the Can-Am Wrestling Show New Segment Contest, where we'll choose three fan suggestions and basically eliminate one of those three fan suggestions each week until there's a definitive winner on what our new segment, rolling in for a good portion of the rest of this year, and what it will be. So we're very interested, and we hope you fans take to this, and interactively, we wanted you guys to have a say. And that's why we love you guys, and we're proving that we love you guys.
And
by letting you help structure our show.
You know what would be awesome? If that winner could join us for that segment on via Skype.
For that one time only? Yes,
for that
absolutely.
one time only via Skype, the winner will join us on the Can-Am Wrestling Show on the segment that we pick to be the winner. So
wrestling fans that comment and take part, you need to have a Skype account. And if you don't have a Skype account, go get one made.
It's free. It's free. It's not even $9.99, brother.
I'll be interested to see whether it ends up being a lady or a male person that chooses this segment. So we love you guys, and this proves how much we love you guys, because we're helping you build the show.
Absolutely.
Or you're helping us build the show.
Oh, we love you guys. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. That has been the Can-Am Wrestling Show, episode number 58. Andre, we are 2 away from the big 6-0.
60, eh?
Why don't you take us home, brother?
We're knowledgeable, passionate pro wrestling reporters right here at OneWrestling.com, and we won't let you down, bringing you news, previews, predictions, reviews, and the Can-Am Wrestling Show all the time. Make sure to follow Bill Apter, our One Wrestling mentor, at www.onewrestling.com, One Wrestling Video, at One Wrestling on Twitter. Make sure to follow Big Ray at Big Ray Show, Andre Corbeil at Andre_Corbeil, and You Got the Show at You Got the Show, Bill Schuyler.
And don't forget Billy Ray Valentine at Billy Ray Hustle.
That's right.
And guys, listen, if you guys want to hear a kind of a crazy podcast, guys, you know, you have the Professor at PORF Hustle. Professor, don't forget at Pharaoh Fancy, 8-Track Brown. They have the PW Hustle podcast. Just check out, Google PW Hustle podcast on Podbeam or on iTunes, guys. I'm actually part of that crew. It's totally different than what you're going to hear here at OneWrestling.com. Yeah, I say a couple of cuss words there. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a lot of fun.
Evil man.
Listen, Andre, I say this every single week. I would do this for a living, but if I can, I would do it anyway. Why? Because I love talking wrestling. Andre?
We're all in this for one thing, wrestling. And of course, as Bill Apter says, we'll see you
at the matches.
Thanks for tuning in, fans.
Peace.